I've been making videos where I talk to the camera for over a year now, both on social media and more recently on YouTube. But I have a problem. I have not perfected my at-home studio setup. See, I live in New York City, which is notorious for having tiny apartments with no space whatsoever. I feel really lucky because my apartment is probably bigger than most. At least it has tall ceilings and a lot of space, but I still haven't found the perfect spot for my at-home studio. So today, we're gonna figure it out. Let's get to it. In order to have the at-home studio of my dreams, we have to solve two problems: framing and lighting. Let's tackle the framing first. My main issue when I'm filming in my apartment is that I haven't found the perfect spot for my setup yet. I usually film in one of three places: my couch, my desk, or in front of the bookshelf. So far, my favorite place to film is in front of the bookshelf, so I'm gonna use that as the start for my new setup. My biggest issue with this setup so far is the lack of foreground. Usually, it's just me sitting on this stool in front of these bookshelves, and there's not really much to look at that's interesting, except for the bookshelves behind me, which are usually blurry at this point. So I'd like to add a little bit of a foreground to make things a little bit more interesting. I have a table sitting around that I'm gonna go grab, and then we can use it to spice up the foreground. Okay, so I set up all my gear, and this is the framing that we're working with now. I like the background and how interesting it is, and I like the foreground and that it adds depth to the shot and gives me something that I can rest my hands on. Now that we have this sort of figured out, it's time to move on to problem number two. Problem number two is lighting. Lighting is arguably the most important thing to think about when making a video like this. If it's too dark, you won't be able to see anything, and if it's too bright, you'll lose all the detail. Either way, it's a horrible viewing experience. Right now, I have two main lights that I use. I have LED light panels that I bought back when I had no budget for lights, and so I found the cheapest thing that I could find, and they're super harsh, and so they leave weird glares and shadows everywhere. In order to combat that, I bought these soft boxes, which help, but really they're not big enough to diffuse the light in a way that is really pleasing. And so instead of a nice soft light, I still get harsh shadows, and I don't love it. The last light that I use is a small RGB light panel that I usually put behind me in videos to fill the room with kind of an ambient light, usually blue or something like that. But it's not quite powerful enough, and so I need to do something in the background that's a little bit more interesting. In order to upgrade my lighting setup, I need to pick up a few things. Luckily, living in New York City, I can just hop on the train and go up to the B&H Superstore and pick up anything that I need. That can also be problematic when I don't want to spend a lot of money, but today, as we're doing this video, I have an excuse. So let's make it happen. Okay, we got it. Now let's get home and put it together. Go. Okay, so this is the old setup. I'm finished with the new setup, and I'm gonna switch it over right now. And here's the after. I'm super excited about this new setup. I still might tweak a couple of things to make it really perfect, but thanks so much for coming along on this journey to upgrade my home studio. If you're enjoying the videos, please make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.